My name is Daniel Nocera. I'm professor of energy, and I'm from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It's one of the best universities in America. And one of the important projects that is ongoing, research at MIT, is energy. And it's trying to find the new energy source for the future. So right now in your life, you use oil and gas and coal. And there's 3 reasons why you won't be able to use that by the time you grow up in, say, the next 40 years. One is that it produces lots of carbon dioxide, CO2. And the CO2 goes up into the atmosphere. And a lot of scientists are worried about that because that can contribute to what's called global warming. And we are not sure what will happen. Maybe plants won't grow as well with lots of CO2 in the atmosphere. And there's lots of other things that you see from global warming where it's affecting our ecosystems, the big ecosystems around the Earth. The other is that there's not enough of it left, so we're using up all the oil, gas, and coal, and as we use it up, it becomes very expensive. And then the final problem is that oil, gas, and methane is in certain regions of the world that not everybody has access to. You could use nuclear. You could use biomass. You can use water, hydroelectric. We can use geothermal. So there's lots of other energy sources that we could use in addition to the ones we use now. The reason for that is that the world population is growing. We're at 6 billion people. And we're going to go to 9 billion people. So we're going to increase the number of people who will need energy. And then it turns out half of the world right now, so out of the 6 billion people who live on the Earth, 3 billion of them use the least amount of energy than anybody in the world. And that's China, India, and all of Africa. Those people use very, very little energy. So as they begin to become more industrialized, we need at least 3 times the amount of energy we're using now. And nuclear, biomass, geothermal, none of that is going to be enough to get to that amount of energy. Is there an energy source that gives us enough energy for the future? And there is one energy source, and that's the sun. If we are good at science and technology, we can use it in a more sophisticated way than just heating us up. We can use it for fuels. We can use it to power electricity. We can use it for heating. In 1 hour, more energy hits the face of the Earth from the sun than we use in an entire year. So what a lot of scientists are doing now, and engineers, they're trying to figure out how to use the sun for an energy source. And there's 2 ways you can use the sun for energy. One is in a thing called photovoltaics. And a photovoltaic takes sunlight, and then when the sun hits the photovoltaic produces an electrical current. And the electrical current you can use for electricity. The other thing you can do with the sun is if you can collect the energy in terms of this current and then split water to hydrogen and oxygen. So in that case, we would be using the sun to make fuel because you can use hydrogen when it combines with oxygen as a fuel, and it could replace gasoline, for instance. Now, a lot of you know, and this is lucky for us as people, if the sun just shines on water, nothing happens. And the reason is that the sunlight is incorrect energy to split water directly to hydrogen and oxygen. And that's good for us, because if the sun ended up split, we need water to live as living organisms. So what we need to do is make something special in between that can catch the light from the sun and then use the energy after it's stored in this special thing called a catalyst. It then acts on the water, and it splits water into hydrogen and oxygen. And that's what my research program does. That's something we study. And we won the Attell Gas Prize, my research group, for the types of chemistry that are involved in splitting water to hydrogen and oxygen. Some people ask me, how long will it take for us to figure out? I'm guessing it will take us around 10 more years. So if you remember what I said by the time you're 50, around 40 years from now, we'll need to have this new energy source. If we spend the next 10 years figuring out how to do this, and then 20 to 30 years to figure out how to engineer this new society based on hydrogen and oxygen and water and the sun as a fuel source, that will be around 40 years. So it's very important that right now that children of your age get interested in the science to figure out how to solve this problem of splitting water to hydrogen and oxygen using the sun. There's one thing in the world that does do that, and that's the leaf. So every time you look up at a tree, you should realize a leaf is taking sunlight and splitting water to oxygen and hydrogen, but it's a special form of hydrogen. It's not free hydrogen in a gas. It's nature's way of storing hydrogen. It's called NADPH. And that's called artificial photosynthesis. So that's the job you have to do. We need you to do it because the world needs this new energy source so that we can have a safe world. It will be a peaceful world because people won't be arguing over energy anymore. And it will be an environmentally clean world because we won't have a lot of CO2 in the atmosphere.